Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Thank you to all the outstanding witnesses for being here today. My home state is Arizona, and we have a very close relationship with Mexico. We are neighbors, we are trading partners, and we share a precious resource, the Colorado River. The 1944 U.S.-Mexico Water Treaty between our two countries outlines the parameters for sharing the river's water. Mexico has been a key partner on the river, and the United States has always made its treaty deliveries to Mexico. In recent years, Mexico has contributed in the same way as other basin states in reducing consumption as we face drought. Last year, Mexico's allocation of Colorado River was reduced by 5%. And this year, as the drought has persisted, it was reduced by 7%. These cuts, combined with significant cuts taken by Arizona and Nevada, have been helpful, but they will not be able to reverse the devastating impacts of the ongoing 23-year drought, a drought that threatens the entire Colorado River ecosystem and all who rely on it. We all have an interest in protecting the system from collapse. Recently, the lower basin states, Arizona, Nevada, and California, reached an agreement to conserve an additional 3 million acre-feet of water over the next 3 years to protect water levels in Lake Mead and Lake Powell, but we cannot do it alone. This crisis needs an all-hands-on-deck approach from all basin users, including Mexico. Assistant Secretary Nichols, as the cooperative work through the International Boundary and Water Commission and the Department of Interior continues, I hope the United States will work expeditiously with all basin stakeholders to ensure our two countries are able to protect the Colorado River in the near term and lay the groundwork for long-term solutions to this looming disaster before it is too late. Assistant Secretary Nichols, can you provide us an update on discussions with Mexico on this most important issue?
Thank you, Congressman. The work of the International Boundary Water Commission is vital to address this increasing challenge for both of our countries. We have continued to negotiate, as you laid out, the way forward to deal with lower water levels and to address Mexico's deficit in feeding water into the system. The efforts will continue. Mexican farmers, just as U.S. farmers, as well as urban populations, will need to make significant adjustments to their water consumption and look for infrastructure investments that will allow water to be conserved through things like runoff control, as well as better treatment options. As this process goes forward, we hope to be able to ensure a steady, safe, reliable supply of water for both of our countries.
I appreciate that. Your role is critical. We can't come up with a global solution to the 1,200-year drought, the worst drought in 1,200 years along the Colorado River, unless Mexico is a full partner, and that has to do with international agreements. And so time's ticking away. It's a critical time right now to reach those full agreements. Now turning to illicit fentanyl trade, which is one of the State Department's top priorities. I recently spoke with Secretary Blinken about this during a full Foreign Affairs Committee hearing and in a small roundtable. And I want to continue working with the Department of State to stop the flow of fentanyl and the tragic overdoses that follow. Assistant Secretary Robinson, you were part of the delegation to discuss implementation of the Mexico-United States Bicentennial Framework for Security, Public Health, and Safe Communities this past April. Knowing that President Lopez Obrador has dismissed Mexico's role in the fentanyl trade, can you expand upon your efforts to work with Mexico on counter-narcotics within and outside the framework and how you see that collaboration evolving?
Thank you, Congressman, for the question. The fact is, the Department of State, Department of Homeland Security, and the Department of Justice are all working together in an interagency fashion with our counterparts in Mexico on things like technology, making sure that they're not using Chinese PRC technology at the border. We are working with them on investigations. We are working with them on capacity building and training for their forces that are challenged by the narcotics traffickers. We've also recognized the role and responsibility of the United States in this in terms of guns and money going south. The Department of Justice is working very closely with the Mexican Prosecutor General to increase the amount of investigations and prosecutions in that regard. It is a challenge, and one of the biggest challenges, frankly, is that right now Mexico is not investing enough in its security apparatus and its prosecutorial apparatus as we are, as the United States is. And part of our challenge, part of our obligation is to convince them to do more on that front.
Okay, well, please let us know how we can support those very, very important efforts. In your opening statement, you talked about some low-hanging fruit. The providing of the 500 drug-sniffing dogs with Mexican law enforcement, that's been very successful in finding almost 500,000 fentanyl pills just recently. What other specific projects are you working on, and how does your budget request support those efforts?
Well, the budget request is essentially a flat line from 2022, but we feel like we are devoting enough resources on capacity building, technology, the canines that we mentioned. We need to get the Mexicans to do more. We also think we need to look at how we can make the business of crossing the border more efficient. We have a study out that we and the government of Mexico worked on together to look at how we can move illicit goods faster and more efficiently across the border, while at the same time stopping the illicit trade that goes across the border.
Thank you very much. I yield back. Thank you, Chairman.